So good morning, Navitor members. We are very honored to have you here today. This is going to be an exciting webinar. We're going to be covering greener alternatives, so thinking beyond recycled paper. When I was kind of looking at how to start this webinar, I kept wanting to say this is such a popular topic, and it is a popular topic, but it's really more than that. And so, you know, whether it's you guys asking about recycled options or greener options, your customers are asking about it, talking about it. Usually it's not just because it's another stock or just another product option. It's usually because there's a passion behind it. It's usually because there's a stand that they're taking. Maybe you're working with a biotech firm, or it could be an architectural agency, all of those different kinds of organizations. It's not just that this topic is popular, it's that it's quite critical to our growth in the paper and print industry. So with that, you know, we wanted to bring you 25 different product options to really bring this home and give you something concrete to work with. My name is Stephanie Drago. I've been here in this industry for 11 years and working e-commerce and marketing for over 20. I'm really excited to be here. We are going to start you guys off with a poll, and the first poll is really just asking about what your customers are asking you about print-friendly options and how important do you think it is to you to have vendors who support these different kinds of options. So while you guys fill that out, I'm going to go through our speakers here today. So Jenna, I'll start with you. Jenna Smith, you've been here for 9 years and in print for 12, but your passion for print goes way beyond that, because I had never met anyone before who had studied print specifically in college. So that was pretty cool to find out. Today, you're going to cover sustainably sourced products as well as eco-friendly manufacturing. So welcome, Jenna.
Hey, thanks, Stephanie. I'm excited to be here. This is my first ever webinar, so that's kind of exciting. Yeah, and it is true that I went to school for print. So I'm kind of a self-proclaimed print enthusiast, as you'll see by my fun title here on this homepage. Hey, any UW Stout grads out there? Anybody? No?
I bet there are. Let's see if they pop in the chat.
Yeah. So I've been in print, like you said, for a while now, and I've gotten more and more exposure and understanding as to what steps the industry is taking really as a whole to adopt and implement socially responsible practices. I think this is such a great topic to visit and then revisit, as things always seem to be changing, and I'm really excited to be here.
That's great, Jenna. Well, we're glad to have you. And Jill Martins, you've been with us for almost 17 years. So coming to us today with your expertise as our senior product manager. And what I've loved about working on this project with you is just how much knowledge you have on the top of your head. You're covering, like when we've asked questions, you've known stuff about products that you specifically own, but then also products way outside what I would have called your wheelhouse. So it's been really cool to just see some of that. So today you're going to cover recycled stocks as well as recyclable materials. So welcome, Jill.
Hello, everyone. Recycling is like magic to me because you're always turning one product into another. So I hope you guys get to see my passion about this topic and get to learn a lot of fun facts.
Thanks, Jill. Yeah, I think that sounds really good. And for myself, I will be bringing you guys top products for reuse. So that's going to be my area. All right, so I'm going to end this poll and then I'll share with you guys the results here. It looks like that most of you are quite often having these conversations with your customers about the print-friendly options, and that it is most of you, like pretty much everyone, is saying that it's very important or somewhat important to have a vendor with these options. So, okay, that's kind of what we thought we would be seeing, and you're here at this webinar, so we're all in the right place together. So I would say that everyone in this audience can probably shout out their go-to greener products. So if a customer asks you, you're not a deer in the headlights, you know what to say, you know what options to give. You probably have a couple that are really your favorites. So our goal at the end of this 30 minutes is to give you more products, more information so that you can truly make a difference. So, you know, if I kind of go back to that quote there, small acts when multiplied by millions can transform the world. So let's start with the small acts today and really start to make a difference. Like I said, we're going to have 25 products that we'll go through here today, and 96% of workshop attendees, just like you guys here today, report that these webinars make an impact on their business. So what I ask of you is to turn off your cell phones, and in fact, maybe like throw it in the next room because the beeps and the buzzes, just even on silent, can be really difficult. But shut down those distractions, use the chat, ask questions, focus on your next greener steps. And we're going to bring you these 5 topics, easy ways to think about greener printing. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jenna with sustainably sourced materials. I'll also start another poll for you to review around FSC. So we'll kind of see what you guys think about that. Jenna, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. And hey again, everybody. I'm excited to kick things off today talking about sustainably sourced paper, and first wanted to look at the foundational term of sustainability. The EPA, that's the Environmental Protection Agency, they define that sustainability as creating and maintaining conditions under which humans and nature can exist in a productive harmony to support our present and future generations. Future here is key. So this is done with practices that are like resource conserving, socially supportive, commercially competitive, and environmentally sound. But before I get too far ahead of myself, Stephanie, let's look at the poll.
Okay, sounds good. So it looks like what's most important to you and your customers is FSC certified stocks. So that's kind of interesting to see there. You guys could also answer a couple of different ways. So about 40% of you are saying that all of it is important. So the stocks, both FSC and SFI, and then the manufacturing as well, or some variation of those. So yeah, these are definitely important topics, Jenna.
Yeah. So while you guys digest the fun fact shown here, we're going to just look at SFI and FSC, talking first about the Sustainable Forestry Initiative, that's SFI. That's your independent nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting sustainable and responsible forest management. So now I had to do a little bit of research, and basically it's saying that they're combining the growth and harvesting of trees with long-term protection of wildlife, plants, soil, and water quality. The SFI certifies over 360 million acres of forests across just the United States and Canada. So it's more North American.
Okay.
FSC might be a little bit more familiar to you, and by the looks of the polls with our audience as well. And this is a term that really ebbs and flows through the industry. Sometimes it's super highly desired, other times it really isn't. So FSC, backing up a little bit, it stands for Forest Stewardship Council. It's an international organization with a mission to promote environmentally sound, socially beneficial, and economically prosperous management of the world's forests. So the FSC defines a strict set of standards that paper products must meet in order to prove that they are, in fact, environmentally and socially responsible. With FSC certification, there needs to be documented chain of custody going from forest to the shelf. And an FSC certified product, they're then recognized with the FSC logo. I'm going to pause here though to clarify. Navitor offers SFI and FSC certified stock options, but we are not currently an FSC certified facility. So when you order product on navitor.com, you're going to see that some of our stocks are identified with either the FSC or SFI logo, and that is true of the stock, but the chain of custody ends there. So we can use the certified stock, but right now we can't print the logo. And while Navitor, we're looking into this FSC certification, we do have an affiliated network to quote an FSC certified product if you have a customer that requires a logo and needs us to maintain that chain of custody.
Very cool.
Yeah. Here we're going to highlight a few specific Navitor products that were produced on FSC materials. You'll see they range from labels and calendars, business cards. Now, of course, these are just a few products that I wanted to call out, but we have hundreds of products with the option to be produced using FSC materials and manufacturing. If you have specific questions about this, we've got sales and estimating teams that can help you out. I can't. It's a lot of product.
It's a lot of product, yeah.
We're going to transition over to eco-friendly manufacturing. And here, this is going to go far beyond paper. It's inks and coatings to energy consumption and waste disposal process. Greener production methods have significantly reduced the environmental impact of printing. So here, the first example I do want to highlight is digital print. While we continue to invest in offset printing, Navitor has increased our digital footprint for a variety of reasons. Now, there are obvious benefits for both printing methods, but digital print requires less paper, less ink, and it's fast and flexible. Compared to the offset printing, it uses less consumables for like setup and make ready. And then you've got options for POD, which is our print on demand, or reduce pre-printed inventory. Here we're gonna have, I've got 5 eco-friendly manufactured products, but again, the list doesn't stop here. These are just a few that I'd like to personally highlight. I'm gonna talk about 3 of them. The first being the stand-up pouch. And I don't know if you all know this, but flexible packaging made its debut at Navitor earlier this year, and it is a great way to package your products and remain eco-conscious. It uses less plastic than other rigid forms of plastic packaging, and it's lightweight, which makes it easier to transport, which then reduces your fossil fuel and greenhouse gas emissions, which is pretty cool. Next, you'll see here, we've got the Post-it note cubes. I want to highlight those because they're manufactured in a landfill-free facility. And then finally, I just want to call out the folded cartons because ours at Navitor are produced right here in the United States, and we don't require any overseas shipping. So here again, we're reducing the fossil fuel use and greenhouse gas emissions. Like, cool, right? It's a little bit of a domino effect happening with some of these methods. And so often you might have a customer come to you specifically asking about paper, but being green really goes so far beyond that. Mm-hmm. Now, Jill, I'm super sorry because I didn't tee you up very well, but let's have you circle back to paper for a minute so you can talk about recycled content as it relates to paper.
Thank you, Jenna. When thinking about recycled content, recycled paper is the most visible and commonly recognized method to reduce the environmental impact in printing. Recycled paper, as we know it today, it can be pre-consumer or post-consumer waste. And since COVID, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but 70% of the recycled paper used to come from business offices when people were in the office prior to COVID. Kind of crazy to think about.
That is really crazy. That's totally different.
So as you can see on the screen, the carbon footprint is greatly reduced when using recycled stock. Construction cost at paper mills designed to use recycled paper is 50 to 80% less than the cost of the mill using new pulp. So manufacturing recycled paper only uses 60% of energy compared to the paper used in the new materials. And by recycling just 1 ton of paper, it saves 7,000 gallons of water. A lot of people don't realize how much water it uses to make paper today. Yeah. And recycled paper produces approximately 70% of less air pollution than if it was made with all raw materials.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding.
Told you I have the fun facts today.
You do.
At Navitor, we offer a wide variety of products that have recycled content in them. Shown on the screen here, you'll see a handful of products. And as brought up earlier, the Post-it notes, some of our favorite products, not only have some of the stocks are 30% recycled materials, but as Jenna said earlier, we have to really tout that it's being manufactured in a landfill free facility. How cool is that?
Yeah,
it's really neat. Not many people can say that. But our DuPont tie-back envelopes that we just added to Navitor into the catalog, these are 100% recyclable and is made from an average of 10% post-industrial content. And some people feel that recycled products don't give the best protection, maybe aren't the highest quality because they're not being made from that raw material. But tie-back envelopes can prove this theory wrong because it's water resistant, it's moisture resistant, it's tear resistant. If I wanted to puncture it, everything that's inside this is going to be safe and okay from all of the elements. So it's pretty neat, and that it is 100% recyclable.
Yeah.
So if we're moving over to the next slide of recyclable and degradable material topics, the overfilling of landfills has become a major concern for many areas of our country and our world. But as the amount of trash goes up, it's not being decomposed as much or as fast as the trash going in. So recycling the products printed on substrates such as cardboard and paper and plastic can cut the landfill sizes in half. Today, 40% of the landfills are filled with paper products and paperboard products that could have been recycled alone.
Please.
So one of the things I like to think about is 60%, or what's going on with the other 60%? Could that be all of it, even all plastic that could have been recycled? Like, where would our landfills be today?
Mm-hmm. True.
So roughly 22 million tons of paper went into the landfill in 2017. That is down from 36 million tons a decade earlier. So that is a big decrease there. But generally, we're pretty good at recycling our paper. But in 2018, paper had an average recycling rate of 68.2%, according to the EPA. As I spoke about green carbon footprint earlier, the greenhouse gases in the US were lowered by 150 million metric tons of CO2e in 2018, which to me, what does that mean? That's equivalent to 33 million cars coming off of the street for an entire year.
Yeah.
This was all done by reducing the amount of paper and paperboard products going into the landfills. If you wonder how the US compares to the other countries on recycling, you will find we are one of the lowest to adapt in recycling anywhere. And it seems odd to me because you see recycling containers everywhere. So I'm not sure why that is. But in recent studies, 90% of Gen X consumers in their 40s and 50s will spend 10% more on sustainable products. These are your customers right now that you guys are working with. And this is very important to them. And so make sure you're talking to them about this, because manufacturers have stepped up to the challenge and more items are becoming available every day. But as you can see on the screen, Print World is also taking notice with offering more products like the wheat straw pens, the foam board interior signs, and we're, of course, continuing to expand with papers and stocks for different products such as folders and envelopes. But did you know that the soft touch and lamination is one of that can be recycled? I actually learned that new with doing this webinar and learning about some of our products ourselves.
Yeah. But
Stephanie, when I think about recycled products, I also think about reusable, and I know you're going to be taking that up next, but what is one of your favorites? Mine is the reusable bags.
I always, they're kind of my go-to as well. I tend to have, 5 or so in my car. So that's kind of, it took me a while to get used to it, I would say. But now I've been pretty good. And then the pandemic, we weren't allowed to bring bags into stores. So I lost my habit, had to get it back. So I'm trying to do better again. So yeah, so that is definitely my favorite. Thanks, Jill. All right, cool. So let's look at some more of these reusable items. We all know about plastic bags. It's obvious that these are a problem. I actually remember, and see if any of you guys were here at the show. This was the ASI Orlando show back pre-pandemic, so 2020. And there was this huge plastic mannequin, and he was covered in, I don't know, thousands of plastic bags. And it represented what we throw out in a year. And it was really just shocking. So it was very impactful for me anyways, to see this big old mannequin just full of plastic bags. But then there's more, right? There's what are we doing with like specific products that we might have sold during the pandemic? So when the pandemic hit, a lot of restaurants were doing disposable menus. You guys were selling them. It was a hit. I mean, it was a huge thing in the pandemic to switch to disposable menus. It was a safe alternative for the moment. It was not a sustainable one. And that was kind of interesting because the second stat here is really talking about, and I'm driving it home, that 12 million trees per year would be used if all of our restaurants use disposable menus. So, again, it was a good solution for the moment, but something like plastic menus, my first one here, is a definite alternative for restaurants and can even be cleaned with medical grade disinfectants without deteriorating the product. So this lasts a lot longer. This is a really good alternative for folks. We were talking about grocery bags, totes, those kinds of things, great branding opportunities. And we could all probably improve on using those in the stores, but we're all getting there. And erasable name badges. I tend to think of this as, I recommend it for companies with high turnover or who use a lot of volunteers. Maybe the volunteers are only there for one event or whatever it might be. So I always thought of it as good for that, but that's actually a greener alternative. Using those and just erasing them and reusing them over and over again has a green option there and can last for quite a long time. So these are really great options for you too. Durable banners, those can be used for 6 months outdoors. It can be even longer indoors. These are great options here. It depends how much sun they're getting and how much wind they're getting, but they can last even longer as well. And of course, dater stamps, these can be continually reconfigured to last multiple years. So the one that we're featuring here is specifically the green line date stamps, features a 5-year date band. So just as you're buying these kinds of products, as you're recommending these kind of products, if you know your customer is really interested in this, or maybe you don't know, and you just know they're a Generation X, maybe start saying some of these things. Hey, this is actually a really good eco-friendly option to the stamps you might be looking at over here. People will really listen, and I think that's going to be really interesting for them too. So there and use that QR code and go to the page. I'll give you a second to do that. We also have a bit.ly link, so bit.ly/Navitor Greener. Do use the capital letters there, that will matter. So if you go out there, you're going to be able to see all the products that we've shared with you today. So there's 25 of them here. These all click back to navitor.com. Now, if you are a member, you can log in and you can order today or just read through more information. If you're not a member yet, it is free to all distributors and resellers. So definitely go ahead and fill that out, and we'll get you the right information so that you can get access to this information and start ordering as well. All the products are out here. And then at the bottom, we also have the booklet. We will have the webinar today once we have that link ready. And then there's always a blog that comes with it, and we'll do that in another week or so. So you'll have lots of good information here. And so then another useful tool is the booklet. And I want to call this one out because this booklet is chock full of information. You saw a lot of it here today on this webinar, but you're also going to have access to more statistics, more source links, more information on products, all the good stuff that you're going to need. This booklet is unbranded. It's a good marketing piece that you can literally give this directly as it is to your customer. You can send them a link. Again, nothing says Navitor, so you can just display this as your own. I also see distributors all the time adding their logos or kind of putting their names and their phone numbers on it. Like, go ahead and use it as your own. This is yours, and this just gets you access to greener alternatives for your customers. And number 3, this may sound really obvious, but I thought I should say it because what we see a lot is someone submits an order and then realizes that they forgot to put on the little label that says printed on recycled paper, or this paper is responsibly sourced. And they forget to put that on the artwork. So make it a part of your QC process. If your customer is making a choice for greener alternatives, help them show off that choice and their responsible ways by encouraging that kind of messaging on the materials itself. That's just something to kind of be aware of there.
I'm going to jump in, Stephanie, real quick. So that's very different than an FSC logo. So 100%, yeah, go ahead and do this. Just kind of make it your own. It's, again, very different than an FSC certified logo. So use these, go nuts.
Yeah, let's clarify that. So if you're using an FSC stock, which is what we said we do and we can do all day, Jenna, you can say this paper is responsibly sourced, right? That would be a good thing to put on there. If you want it FSC manufactured, you will have, and using the logo, like Jenna said, you're going to have to get that quoted. We'll help you. We do have a network that can get you access to that. Then you can use the logo, right, Jenna? Is that right?
Correct. Yep. It's really the documentation of that chain of custody I mentioned before. Really, that tracks the tree from the forest to the product on the shelf. And so to be truly FSC, to be able to use that logo, you have to go through an FSC certified facility. And again, like you said, we can quote it, but just because we're producing on an FSC stock does not automatically allow you to put the FSC logo on it.
Yes, that is exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, so that, I think that's good to clarify. We are investigating it as an FSC facility. We do have a committee looking into that, but for right now, we do have a network that we can get you access to if you need or want to see what it would take to put that logo on your project.
Yes.
Cool. Thanks, Jenna.
Sure.
And then Stephanie, one other call out is in our catalog and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but you'll notice that we do call out like the recycling logo and stuff like that on stocks that are recycled stocks or recycled paper and stuff. So make sure you're using this online, or if you have the actual physical one, taking a look at that.
Yes, good point. We'll put a link there in the chat then too, so you can get to that catalog, the digital version. You can order a catalog as well. I think those are great resources. Our customer service team can also help you navigate, recycled stocks. If there's a specific stock that you want, maybe is not in our standard selection, then we can work with you on that too. Cool. All right. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we go into the Q&A portion, I did just want to ask one thing of you guys, here on this launch, because you guys have such a strong interest in FSC and greener options. We are investigating right now a program for recycling, specifically for signage. Signage is not something that you can traditionally recycle through like your community programs and whatnot. So we wanted to put this out there as something that we're investigating and to see if you guys might be interested. Now, we would have to figure out, how do you ship it back to us, or how do you ship it to this organization? What would it cost? There's a lot of unknowns. So we're just trying to get your sense of what you think you'd be interested in. So yes, I'd be interested and willing to pay for this directly, or yes, I'd be interested, but I'm probably going to charge my customer for it. Yes, I'd be interested if it was free, or no, thank you. So put in your thoughts there. I'd like to just see it, and that'll help us determine next steps. Okay, all right. So I can see lots of questions coming in on the chat. So we are going to move into the Q&A portion. So I'll bring forward some of those that we've been sharing in the chat, and then also some of the questions that we got ahead of time as well. So I'll go through some of those. So the first question that I have here, and these are in no particular order, but just what I kind of wrote down, is recycled paper the same quality as new paper? Sometimes we call this virgin paper. Jill, I wonder if you might take the first crack at this one.
So recycled paper can actually be recycled 7 times before they can't use the fibers anymore. So it's really going to depend on what style or stock that you are choosing. But most of the brands that we carry are going to be just as high of quality if it's recycled or if it's not.
Okay.
I wouldn't have any problems stating that and being firm about that today. I would say probably about 10 years ago, you probably would have noticed a difference. But today the technology has come up so well, and they've really dialed down to how long they can keep those fibers in there.
Okay. Okay. Jenna, do you want to add anything else on that one?
I was just in my head thinking, a lot of them are 30% recycled or 30% PCW. I would imagine that once you get into the 90, 100% recycled, I would imagine that there would be a slight grade in quality decretion, I guess you would want to say. Jill, do you think that's true, or is it really truly?
It's going to be your color.
Okay.
That's going to really fluctuate.
Sure.
You can't get as bright of whites with recycled stock that you can get with raw material, because
Sure.
they can't bleach it as much. So that's where you're going to have a harder time with that. But it was a good question to bring up, because I actually, and what you added, Jenna, because I just actually talked to one of our vendors about that last week. So
Right.
Good question.
Good question. Yeah, for sure. So there's a follow-up question to that coming from Bill. And he's kind of making a statement, but it's an important one. So sometimes customers will ask about using recycled stock, but then they get frustrated that it is a higher cost. And I know it depends on exactly what you guys have said of what percentage it is recycled, but is there more budget-friendly options? I know, Jenna, we were talking about this with some of the folders that, you have some standards there that actually might be really good options. So I'll start with you, Jenna.
Yeah, I don't have the list in front of me, but we price things based on classes. So we've got 6 class 1 stocks, which are going to be our most budget friendly. And 3 of those 6 are FSC or have recycled content. In the catalog, you'll see we kind of consolidate all of our stock options, and really it's a kind of a chart. So if it's FSC, it gets a star. If it's recycled, it gets a star. If it's whatever. So we're trying to be as transparent as we can with those options. And then also giving you variety within a price break. So again, of the class 1s, we've got 3 of 6 that are certified FSC stocks. Of the class 2, I think there were 12 out of 18. I'm making numbers up now, but for us specifically, there are options at each price break level.
Okay. All right, that's helpful to see. We'll put a link in the chat there about to what Jenna is talking about there, so you guys can see that directly. And then Jill, do you want to add anything on your side?
I was going to say, I think amongst all of Navitor that follows the same pattern. our catalog, or not catalogs, our stocks, really, if they're in our catalog, our standard program, they're going to be what's most commonly used. If you're quoting something, that is where it's going to probably be more expensive. And then today we do have stock issues, as everybody hates to bring up. But as I mentioned earlier, with the recycled stocks, we are seeing a decrease in getting a lot of that on hand at times. So you might have a little bit slower time of getting some of those, which is not a bad thing. It's just for them to be aware. I'd be more aware that the price isn't going to be as hard to get, or isn't going to be as high. It's going to be more of waiting for the stock.
Okay.
Sorry that I mumbled that one up a little.
No, that I think that's clear. And I think it's fair to call out the supply chain that, you know, some of the specialty stocks are harder to get right now, and that's across the board. So we can get access to some, but you might have to wait a little longer. You might not get as many quantity as you wanted. I mean, there's just, but we'll work through it with you. And you know, we definitely can make things happen, but not always everything in these days. So I think that's a good point, Joe. Okay, let's see. So the next question that I have is, are there certain types of customers who are more apt to look for green printing options? Or maybe it's easier to say, are there certain industries or something like that? Jenna, I'll start with you there, and then I'll go to Jill. So Jenna, would you have anything that like you've kind of seen a lot of?
Yeah, I think where there's opportunity, I don't think it's limited. I think no matter what industry you're in, there's always opportunity to look for the green alternatives. We found that certain verticals, specifically here within Navitor, the verticals like local governments, maybe healthcare, education, and even like faith-based organizations, maybe even like nonprofits, they seem to have a very strong focus in this area. But again, kind of as Bill suggested, they really want to do what they can to source green options, specifically talking about stock. But a lot of the price point is going to make or break the decision to use that material, which again, I just want to go back to that eco-friendly manufacturing, just because we're doing a lot of things kind of industry-wide, a lot here at Navitor, but I mean, the industry is trying to keep up. So that's maybe just us helping educate on what those manufacturing processes are, where you can say, hey, well, we're not going to use that stock, but did you know that it's going to be produced in a landfill-free facility, or, kind of stuff like that to offset the specific need for paper.
Right. Jill, did you want anything else?
If you're looking specifically to industries, I know when I go on the floor, construction companies tend to be one that likes a lot of that, health and wellness, and then craft type people that are selling earrings and jewelry and stuff like that, that maybe want the tag cards and everything. They're looking for that sustainable, that craft recycled look.
Cool. Yeah, that's a really good point there too. I would add, we said construction, architectural firms. We see a lot of those. They tend to have lots of projects going on that incorporate a lot of green materials. They have LEED certifications and stuff like that they want to show that. So the more, vertically integrated they can be across greener products is better for them. Tech firms sometimes too, that can be really popular. I also want to call out ag. I know we had a big push with ag a couple months ago, and that one's really big with green, but they're going to be more price sensitive too. So that's where, like Jenna, when you were saying 30% recycled, that kind of thing, they might not take the biggest and best option, but they would definitely be interested in options that, would be a bit more budget friendly. Okay. I think we got that one covered. Okay. I had a question from Larry. Are you able to do vinyl products in a more sustainable substrate, retractable banners and et cetera? I can probably cover this one for us. So we do have a number of substrates beyond the standard offering. So we kind of answered that in the quote in the chat there too. And then we were talking about this extra program that we were talking about, like that we might be able to do, which would recycle some of these banners that would be not traditionally recyclable. And we can give you quotes. We can work through a bunch of different things there. So let us know, and we can definitely look into more options there for you. All right. Any other questions coming out from the group? I want to make sure I didn't miss any. I have one more on my list, so please add them to the chat if you guys have any more questions. So one thing, this is kind of along the like who to target for greener options. So would you recommend eco-friendly print options to any customer, even if they don't ask for it? How sort of forward should you be with it? You know, that kind of a thing. Maybe Jill, I'll start with you there. What do you think?
Well, being a in the generation between the 40s and 50s, myself, if you feel the person is around that age, I would suggest it, just because I think that is a target age group that is really looking at that. I said earlier, like these are your customers, and I truly believe that they are within that range, and it's something that they're consciously looking for. And sometimes they might not think to ask about it. So you suggestively selling it will make it an easier option for them to say yes. And like I noted before, that we listed in our catalog, and Jenna did too, about what stocks are recyclable, where you can just say, hey, pointing them right to it right off the bat could be a great way to lead into it.
Yep, that makes sense, Jill. Jenna, how about your side?
I would play devil's advocate and say, talk to your supplier before you go out and promote anything. Just the supply chain is just so tough. And we have come into situations where it's, we're trying to scramble to find alternatives and be like, well, your catalog said you had this. Well, we did. And then, we're reliant on the mills, and now the mills aren't even offering this. So, it's twofold. Yes, I go ahead, push. And again, it's beyond paper. So, hey, work with Navitor. They're doing all this amazing eco-friendly stuff. Yeah, go ahead and target, but I would tongue in cheek say, why don't you call your rep and say, hey, I'm going to do this. What can you support?
Yeah. Because it does change, doesn't it? Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I think there's also, the options, like just being more aware of things like when I was saying the erasable name tags, like I would have promoted that, like as a distributor, I would have promoted that to an end user who kind of fit the criteria of high turnover restaurants, that kind of a thing. But when you're able to say, hey, not only is this good for high turnover, but this is actually a greener option, could help them convert and actually make that sale. So I think some of it, like we tend to think of stock. Like, and this whole presentation today is trying to get us to think beyond recycled stocks. So there is more out there. So I think Jenna's right. You do have to be a bit careful in today's days, and just know that you probably don't want to commit to a specific stock, but to a generalized, you want more recycled options. Let's go through those. And then as you kind of narrow in and, get your PO going and get your quote going, then make the commitment on which exact stock you want, because we've got lots, but it's just not always exactly, the plan that you had 2 weeks ago can't always come through today. So I think that's kind of what Jenna's trying to emphasize there too.
Or even just being honest, saying it might take a little bit longer if that's something you want, right? If you are talking to them up front.
Yep. Okay, I see a couple of more questions coming in. Some folks are asking about the catalog. Can you get a printed copy? Yes, you can definitely get a printed copy if you go to navitor.com. We have catalogs in the upper menu there, and you can order a printed version or request a printed version. You can get access to a Zoom catalog where you can add your own logo to the cover of it and just make it your own. We have multiple catalogs, 200 pager, that has all the products in there. But we also have specialty catalogs like for folders or for labels, that kind of a thing too. So make sure you check out all of those. And then we also just have downloadable versions if you just want a PDF on your on your desktop that you can look through there. So lots of good options there. We have another question here, is if we're going to provide a recording, and yes, we are. We provide the recording. We provide the actual deck. So the presentation itself, we'll give you links to the booklet. We'll give you links to the catalog. All of those good things will be out there in the email that you'll get later on today. Okay, and it looks like a couple of you are talking in and just giving their email addresses because you wanted specific information. So definitely send us that and we'll get you what you need today. Okay, I don't think I missed any questions, did I? Was there anything that I missed, guys?
I think we hit it.
Yeah.
I think you hit it? All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for your time today. Don't forget that there's a survey that will pop up as you sign off. So please fill that in. That really helps us determine next webinar topics. We're just in the process of planning out 2023. So let us know what you're really interested in, because that really drives our topic selections. Thank you to Jill and Jenna for being on this panel today. You have great pro tips, great experience. Really loved that. Thank you to all the folks on the call today for your time and engagement and all your good questions. I also want to make sure to drive home one last time before you leave today that this webinar is really about the top 5 greener print options and the top 25 most popular products. There are more, and they are growing and ever changing. So make sure to check the catalogs and the website so that you can get what you need there. So lots of good options for you. So we also know you have a lot on your plate. So go to navitor.com to sign up for more free tools, anything that you've seen today. We've recorded the session. You'll get copies of the materials and recommendations later today. And don't forget that we're just sharing the top 25. So I'm going to just underscore that a couple of times here. It's really important to know. We've just got a lot out there. So thank you, everyone. Here at Navitor, we innovate, you sell, and it's a win. So we'll talk to you again next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.